keeping that in.
Is it recording?
Yeah, it's been recording this whole time. You can actually look how rude this guy is. Simply making it.
I'll be fucking edit this correctly.
I'm lazy with this thing, I might just forget it. No, I'm just
think that like a telegram introducing.
Perfect advertisement.
Is that?
Yeah. Good.
Is it streaming?
Imagine. It's cool, man. I get like 20 people watching my live stream. Alright, Mr. Ibrahim X, we have in the building. How you doing, man?
Very good, doing very good. Just taking things day by day. It is what it is. Lack of clarity is a bit annoying, but it's good.
Yeah, actually, do you want to start from that? So why am I here?
So yeah, so people don't know. I don't really know what I'm allowed to say or what I'm not, what I can say. To be honest with you, I'm not too afraid of men. I fear God, so I'll talk anyway. I was arrested for Communications Act 127, and it was for saying that a man can't be the other gender, allegedly.
Yeah.
And because I said that people who teach, I'll try to word it correctly, rectum intercourse to children should be prosecuted. So they kicked in my door, they didn't kick in my door, but they had a warrant to kick in my door. They took all my stuff, put me in a cell, and here I am. We had court yesterday, we showed up, and they just cancelled it and they pushed it back a month. Which is fine, I don't really mind. I think for a lot of people it would play on their mind, and they would be afraid just because of the lack of clarity. The threat that you don't know is scarier than the threat you know, so that lack of clarity I think would play on people's minds. Quite frankly, it doesn't bother me one bit, and you'll know that. Because after it, we went to the gym, had a blast. It doesn't faze me one bit, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's something which, so it seems to be that everybody is more worried about the case than you actually are. Because I remember, it's probably a couple of weeks ago now, I was worried about him. I called him up, and he was just smiling, just like all happy and all that, and it was just a bit of a... I was worried and it gave me some reassurance, so yeah. Yeah,
because I think that was the night I got kicked out of my house. Because another thing I thought I mentioned, I got kicked out of my house and my parents could dance around it. I don't want to badmouth them, but it was because of the Muslim thing. Doesn't bother me one bit. And as I was driving to stay somewhere that night, he gave me a call. It was great. But yeah, I have noticed that, and it's been a theme of my entire life, it's been micromanaging adults. And again, everyone involved in this situation, it's like, when you bring things to light, the shadows disappear. And it's like, within situations like this, you start to see people's real character, and to see the spiraling and deceit and behind closed doors comments from people who claim a higher authority, and then people who don't, like your family and all that. It's interesting. I don't quite see why people are so afraid. The one thing that I don't understand is the people who believe in God and then are still afraid.
Yeah.
Because it's like, worst case scenario, they put me in a cell. Well, my dean, if I'm free, is still going to be the same dean I have if I'm behind bars. It doesn't change. And people actually believe in the Day of Judgment. What difference does it make? And this is where I find it interesting, because I think, say they put me behind a cell, what am I missing out on that I would have in the free world? I'm not interested in sin or things that are offered to you by the outside world, so nothing really changes. You just do push-ups, sit with your imagination, and you can relax, reflect, you know what I mean? Because the demons people battle with are not external, they're inside their own head, so it's not, you know what I mean, it's not a big deal at all. Just is what it is.
Question, do you think, and I know you have sort of opinions on this, do you think your viewing Andrew Tate in prison impacts the way you think about prison?
In what way?
In a way that you are able to just focus, it's not as bad as what some people would think it is.
No, even in that situation, after what's been going on, I'm very dubious as to the sincerity of that whole ordeal. 33 cars arguing with an 18-year-old girl, 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. It's not conspiracy theory, it's just how these people think. It just doesn't bother me. I don't care. I think people say this, but they say it because it's nice on the ear. But I fear God, and I don't care what man tells me to do. And I'm of the opinion anyway that, and I know this is a Christian term, and it's actually from a guy that I don't like, Paul, but he said something good, which was, our battle is not with flesh and blood, it's with principalities of darkness. And if you look at this, every baby born has no sin in them at all. Even if you were to look at the guy, the president of Israel, I'm not going to say the name, but his name's Benjamin. When he was 5, all he wanted to do was play with his mom and go, there was no sin in them at all. So even these corrupted men, I don't think it's them. I think they let gin inside them, and that's what takes over. Because if you look at, one of the things I got in trouble for was talking out against the public promotion of LGTV in schools, which is word salad for poop sex. That's what it is. I obviously have to monitor your language, but there is a degree of fighting fire with fire here. Like me, and I know this is a weird comment to make, but we're in a weird world. I could love my son when I have one, inshallah. I could take a bullet for you. The last thing I want to do to any of them is sodomize them. So it's not love, it's hatred. If you're going to push that to kids, that's pretty much as demonic as you can get. A human being does not find that attractive. It's, like the shaitan, he said, I'm made of fire, you're made of clay. He rebelled because he believes he should be above you, but you are above him. So his whole goal is to get man to humiliate himself, to degrade himself, to become disgusting, to become a laughing stock. And what's more of a laughing stock than getting people interested in sodomy? There's not, because again, it's sterile. That man is not attracted to that. It's a jinn inside you telling you things that you think are your own thoughts, and they're not. So even when it comes to dealing with this system I'm in, if you look at, it was London Metro Police who solicited the warrant for the arrest. London is the stab capital of the world, yet they're spending their time trying to mess with me for not liking the fact that every single child on the planet, if you account for the pornography industry, the public schooling industry, 99% of children in the world are molested, and they're trying to lock me up for that. That's not a human being doing that. That's a jinn in your head telling you things that you think are your own thoughts, but they're not. So, and again, the jinn are below you, the shaitan is below you, so he requires your consent to hurt yourself. So if you don't give him that consent, why would you be afraid? What is freedom? They do this thing, I've seen in Morocco, they're trying to liberalise Morocco, and they push things like where women get rid of their own children before they're born, and they sell it to you as a freedom. The freedoms they give you is word salad. It's things you could do in a 6-foot jail cell. You're not free to buy land without debt. You're not free to express yourself in a moral and righteous way, but you're free to murder your offspring, degrade yourself, poison yourself with alcohol. So who is more free? A man who's strong on his deen but just can't navigate the world because he's behind bars, or a man who is free but he's spending his time like a cat with a laser chasing sin and vices? So it doesn't bother me one bit. It's unfortunate because I just got married allegedly, so I can't see her. But again, do you believe in God or not? And the Quran talks about how they won't test you more than you can bear. Do you believe it or not? I think people say things. People forget that the devil can quote scripture. People can recite the Quran and tajweed, but do you follow it or not? The devil can quote scripture. People say, "Oh, I believe in God," though. Well, so does shaitan. Doesn't mean anything. Does your faith have works? Do you believe God will test you more than you can bear? Because if not, then why should you be afraid? It's a period of strength thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to talk about marriage, but we'll sort of pause on that for now. Are you able to reveal any sort of more information on your case, or is it something you're not really meant to talk about?
No, I think I can. The type of bail I'm on is no onerous conditions, which is a good sign. And it's going to an undertaking, not a trial, which is another decent sign. But the problem with them is they can string them out as long as they want, which is difficult. there's not really too much to say. I think the one thing I've learned a lot from it in a very short period of time, and there's been a lot going on. Like within the space of 2 weeks, I was kicked out of my house. I had all these big names kind of reveal themselves. I'm not going to get into that too much. And then obviously the prosecution side of things, I can't run diagram, all this fun stuff. But there's a period, if you don't have the victim mindset, you get stronger, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, that makes sense. And you're not touching on the big names, don't you?
No, because I just think cream rises. I think cream rises and time tells, you know. I think, so the word apocalypse actually just translates to a revealing. And when situations like Snowvid come along, you start to see people's real character. And I think in situations like this, you start to see people's real character. Like one of the first surahs in the Quran is the people who they say they believe, but when they're alone with their Satans, they mock and say we were only saying we weren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in these situations, you kind of see what people are really made of, but it's all consent based. No one can hurt you. You can only hurt yourself, you know. So if people want to say one thing and do another, I don't think that lasts, you know what I mean? So
yeah, let's move on to marriage actually, because you just got married.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, I guess, the whole process from start to finish. How did you meet your wife?
Yeah, so it's interesting. You'll know this, and it's not an arrogance thing. It's just a fact. I think because of how we have tattoos, and I if I shaved my facial hair, I could be in one direction, and I think that can kind of be taboo. I'm just being honest with you. Like my DMs say so. It can kind of be taboo for sort of like young Muslim women because it's like, oh, the tattooed guy, that's so taboo. You know what I mean? So
actually, on that specifically, the number of girls who've said to me, if it wasn't haram, I would get them, and if I could remove them, they wouldn't want me to.
Yeah, same. I'm at the same thing because it's the global homogenization of the world. I was in and this is a side note, but I was in a petrol station yesterday. I'm a Muslim, but I'm not an Arab. You know what I mean? So I was in a petrol station yesterday, and Indian guys own it, and they were playing Desi music while selling alcohol, and I'm like, this is what the global Zionist regime wants. They want 500 million people who are just this weird brown mush who stand for nothing, say lol, OMG, believe that the Warrens fighting against the Matrix, and that being drunk and banging women's cool. And I think that's happening across the world now. If you take a young Pakistani farmer girl who's 16, she's seeing and believing the same stuff that a club bimbo in Buenos Aires in Argentina is seeing. They're both on Instagram, they both go, oh, lol, OMG, oh, 365, so cool. Like, it's the same stuff. Everyone has the same idols, everyone believes the same stuff. Everyone thinks we're spinning around in infinite blackness and that the sun's going to burn out. So I think what happens is these young girls get exposed to Western. It's just like when you see Asian guys are about to Islam. They're not Chad lords, but these young girls have been exposed to K-pop and they're like, ooh. So it just is what it is, that global homogeny of the world. It's interesting anyway. But yeah, so I made it a clear distinction to start with. If I wanted zina, I wouldn't revert to Islam. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, there's certain guys who we both know, right, who do, but then continue the zina, which I don't quite understand, because what's the point in taking the shahada if you're not going to do anything the Quran or the Hadith says?
Yeah.
But I'm not interested in zina, or I wouldn't have reverted. So from very early on, I understood I'm probably going to get a decent amount of attention, whether it's deserved or not. I mean, I think a lot of women today are very fickle, where they see a big number on a screen, whether it's a bank account or a following online, and it's the same way guys forget about a woman's character because they're hypersexualized, and they go, she's got nice hips, and they forget about her character, and women can do that with guys with a big number on whether a bank account or Instagram following. But I understood I was probably going to get that, and I disregarded it. I wasn't really interested. And then my wife made an Instagram account to message me. I didn't even know what she looked like for the first 2 weeks. and then she helps me with my businesses, runs my Instagram, all that good stuff. 6 months later, we decided to get married. It was pretty cool. But then this is another thing. Like, I'm a guy, and you'll know this. You come from the Western way of life. Like, you're in terms of like from an intimacy standpoint or a relationship standpoint, you're traumatized from like 8, bruv. Like, the Western male sees corn at 7. They're sitting there like, and then you grow up and all the women around you from like 13 are naked in yoga pants and bikinis, and then the women your age are in like all feminism, and they're, you know, they have.
You're allowed to say that.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say mate, but you know.
Feminist.
So for example, exactly. So you go through all this trauma and like heartbreak and just like fear of what am I going to have to get myself into in terms of marriage and stuff. And I had that problem. Like, she had no red flags at all, no issues one bit, but I was still apprehensive. I'm like, they're just nice to you, and then they take all your stuff, and they're secretly doing this, and then obviously when the whole jail thing happened, I was like, you know what, let's do it. That's what I mean. An apocalypse is just an opportunity. It's a revealing. When you bring things to light, the shadows disappear. And if you don't have any shadows, you're just in the light. If we had done zina or something like that, and this situation happened, I wouldn't have wanted to get married. I would have been like, oh. But because we didn't, and she was still there, I was like, you know what, let's do it. So alhamdulillah, it's good. It's good, but it's difficult for me to get excited because I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to get locked up or thrown away, or you don't know what the deal is. So that's a bit annoying. Because if you let the pendulum swing to excitement, and then external forces you can't control stop that happening, you swing the other way and get sad. So I'm just kind of like mellow and meek, and I'm unable to really enjoy it, but it is what it is. Yeah, so it was an online ceremony. How was that for you? Because obviously for me it was the first. I've attended nikahs before, but not online. It was an interesting experience. Yeah, it was good. I think, if you want my honest opinion, and this is going to trigger people who know this is true and have endured this, but we were talking yesterday that, and look, I'm not trying to be arrogant here, it just is what it is. Like, if a woman doesn't really like you, she'll want to fill that void with a lot of material things. Like, she'll want an extravagant wedding, or she'll want a massive maher, or you know what I mean. So it was just an online one. Yeah, it was cool. There was no. I think what happens in Western marriages, and this is what I was talking about. The shaitan, he changes the end goal of things. So if you look at just sex, for example, what's happened to young Western people is that the Satan of the world has convinced people that sex is the end goal. And it's not. It's a means to an end. The end goal is family, and sex is just a means to achieve that. And they do that with marriage. They go, marriage is the end goal. And no, it's not. The marriage is a means to an end. The end goal of marriage is a family together. So what happens in the West is people will get together, they'll mess around and do zina and fornicate and cheat on each other. And then once the woman gets old and the attention dries up, and the guy just becomes a loser, and this potential dries up, then they decide to get married. And when you make those vows of saying, oh, till death do us part, well, you've spent 5 years together where you weren't doing that. So the other person subconsciously knows you don't actually mean till death do us part, because you were perfectly happy just to use and abuse each other and until you found someone better, and you didn't. So you're getting off on the wrong. You're taking something which should be the start line, and you're making it the finish line. So I never seen it as a big deal. I was certain if I wasn't certain, I would have seen it as a big deal. I was good to go. And yeah, alhamdulillah, it's good. But that's the start. It's not the end. It's the start. And I think people make marriage out to be a big deal because, again, it's voices in their head that they think are theirs, but they're not. A woman's one will be, oh, but you might be able to find someone better. If you get married, you could find a basketball player who's going to be loyal and really want to settle down. Oh. And the guy's one will be, oh, but you could just see this one and that one behind closed doors. The reason it was so easy for me is that demon that I've got him by the throat. I chucked him out my head a long time ago, so it was just laser focused.
Yeah, I think from the guy's perspective, I think you touched on this yesterday. We were chatting, and you said you wouldn't want to get married legally because of certain reasons.
Well, yeah, trusting one of the terms of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in Hadith said, I think it was Muhammad. In the Hadith, there's a term, it's trusting God but tie your camel, you know. And even then, this is my point with these like religious people who believe in God but then get married under the government. Who do you believe in? Who do you make your claims to? So you're marrying a woman and you're going to make a claim to another man that you won't leave her and disregard God?
Yeah.
So of course, like why would I tell a man who has the same pair of balls and the same word to uphold as I do that I'm going to stay with a woman? You're making a deity out of a guy who takes a poop in the morning. I'll make my claim to Allah. I'll make my claim to the highest authority there is, and that's where my word stands. I will make a proclamation that will be held on the day of judgment, and not to some guy that goes to the toilet like everyone else. You know what I mean? So
your advice to young men is not to get married legally. Is to have a nikah and get married Islamically.
Yeah, 100%. If you can't see the legal system's designed to corrupt you, and it's not that women are bad. I really think people see jinn as metaphorical. And what's interesting is me and two other guys that I won't really name, people know who I'm referencing, we both started looking into jinn and schizophrenia this time last week within the same sort of day frame. And it's so obvious to me that people can say, again, it's the same thing. It's they rise and pray. When they rise in prayer, they rise hesitantly and only for the eyes of men. People say things because they want to just they don't want to be socially ostracized by their community. But I don't think they actually believe them. I really do think the jinn realm is not even up for debate as to whether it's real or not. If you get married under the government, your wife, depending on how solid your foundations are, she'll have that whisper of, I could leave him and just take money, I could leave him and just take money. That voice goes off in her head. But I don't understand, if you're a God-fearing person, I don't understand why you're getting married under the government. Who is your authority? Is it men who would send you to jail for saying you don't like children being abused, or is it God? Like, if you're going to say something, stick to it, you know?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I want to rewind. Well, yeah, let's rewind back to when you were single and you just became Muslim. You tried out certain dating apps, right? Moors.
Yeah.
Being one of them. And I'll touch on this a little bit. So I'm now known as the Moors guy for the videos that I make. So it would be interesting to hear your experience on the app. It's such a halal option, right?
It's a halal dating app. No, I downloaded it and I deleted it in like half an hour. I think I use the analogy of the zina thing because again, it's making sex the end goal. And then when that's the end goal, why would you get married? Why would you not do zina? Why would you not engage in all that stuff? Because you perceive that as the end goal. It's not. It's a means to an end. It's a means to an end. The end is family. It's a satanic inversion. So I went on it. So I think what happens is when I reverted, I didn't really understand this. And I use the analogy that when you're in the West and you're doing zina and you're fornicating, it's like going to like a theme park and you get those games where something pops up and you hit it down, and it pops up here and you hit it down, and that's kind of like lust pops up, you smack it down, pops up again, you smack it down. And when I reverted and I cut all that out, all I've been doing for the past 4 years with women is just, it comes up, zina, bang it down. As soon as I was done, the thing popped up again. You don't itch, you're just scratching an itch that never goes away. And I think that itch can kind of hit you, so I was like, oh, I'll go on Muslim and see how it is, and I can see it's just like dating. I mean, 80% of the girls in there don't have hijabs on and stuff. That tells you all you need to know. And if they're all Mus, they're going to be on Instagram and TikTok. And like I said earlier about the global homogenization, they're going to be fed the same things that Western women are being fed. It just takes time to materialize. Because people think the West, like people wonder where the West collapse started. I'd argue it was the Fed being created. But like the 60s was when rock and roll and do your drugs and freedom of sexual liberation, which is sexual slavery, it's an inversion again. And then that seed starts to plant, and it's not till 2020, 2010 that the rotten tree starts to bear the fruits. If you think the Islamic community and most young women who are Muslim being exposed to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you don't think that's going to have consequences in 50 years? It absolutely 100% is. It's 100% going to have consequences. And that just is what it is. But again, haram is haram no matter if everybody's doing it. Halal is halal no matter if nobody's doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because I spoke to someone who actually used to work. It wasn't at Muz, but it was at a similar app, and he said that they had to change it from a marriage app to well, I don't think they can call it a marriage app anymore because the success rate is so low that they can't even call it that. It's purely for dating. That's what it is. You have the option to say, I want to get married in 4+ years. How is that for marriage?
Yeah, it's not. It's tedious. And again, it's because you make sex the end goal. If you make sex the end goal and you make marriage the end goal, it's not the end, it's the beginning. And fornication is the biggest trap out there. And as you know what, the best way I could analogize it is young people, whether it be Christians or Muslims or the other ones, which I'm not going to mention, they'll read their holy scripture in a form of like singing, or they'll romanticize it. So you've got tajweed in Islam, you have the gospel in Christianity, and you've kind of just got young kids who are hearing, like in Christianity, they go in and it's like, oh, how dare you, and they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs and they don't understand it. And it's like saying to a kid, sugar's bad for you, or sweets are bad for you. Unless we're humans. If we didn't have a requirement for reason, God wouldn't have made us free will creatures. He would have just made us a monkey who follows impulses. So we need to have a degree of reason and understanding to accept things. The fornication thing is, if fornication persists, marriage will not exist. And more important, zina. If zina exists, marriage will not. If zina persists, marriage will not exist. Because one thing, there's a certain gentleman who's now completely exposed himself as a genocidal monster, Jordan Peter guy. He had he brought something interesting that was, when a man and a woman move into the same house together before getting married, the divorce rate's way higher, because what you're subconsciously saying is you're good enough for now. I'll sleep with you, I'll use you, we'll consume each other in sterile sex, or we just use each other in essence to masturbate, and if it doesn't work, we'll leave. And that sticks with you when you get married, because you can marry someone and they say their vows, but for the past 5 years you were perfectly willing, say as guys, if we go with a woman and just started sleeping with her unmarried, if we then decide to get married, she understands that, well, you were willing to make me a whore.
You're special, right?
Yeah, well, you're subconsciously, she's like, well, you were willing to just use me for your own gratification, now that you can't find anything better, and now you want to marry me. And they resent you for it. Because there's a difference between creating with someone else that you love or consuming each other. And it's like, if you build a house on sand, when the storm blows, it's going to come down. If you build it on a rock, it won't. So it's all fair. And again, this is my point. No one's making you do anything. When you look at because there's a 24% apostasy rate because Islam's the fastest growing religion on the planet in terms of reversion, but it also has one of the highest apostasy rates. It's 24%. Apostasy rate amongst born Muslims today. Why do you think that is? Because these young guys are getting fed corn, and the girls are getting fed liberal, throw all your clothes off and stand in front of men for attention, and the Quran permits that. They're going to just run away because you don't protect them. You're meant to put walls up. Like back in the day, guys would stand at a fortress with spears and keep the devils out. And now they bring it into their house. So, newspaper with propaganda, bring it in. Oh, here's my kid, I want to watch TV, give him a phone with TikTok, let him corrupt his mind. So it's all fair. No one puts a gun to your head and tells you to go sleep with a woman. Like Satan doesn't come along and like pull your trousers down and walk you over to the girl. You do it to yourself. Satan's below you. He can't make you do anything. He needs your consent. So it's a free will choice. Just choose not to do it. But half the time I think people do it thinking it's them, but it's not. It's Jinn trying to humiliate you. That's what it is.
Yeah. Interestingly, I was speaking with, it was a co-worker at the time. He said he was a practicing Christian, right? but he had a girlfriend, they lived together, and he got married to her. And I asked him, has anything changed? And he was like, no, not really. And I think that is, because if you're in a relationship and you haven't committed to each other, and then you get married, it's like, what's actually changed?
Nothing. And it always ends in divorce. So if you build a house in sand and the wind blows, it comes down.
Yeah.
If you're going to consume each other, you're going to resent each. There's going to be resentment there, because what you're saying is you're good enough for now, but I'm going to keep my options open.
Yeah.
You're just consuming each other for your own pleasure. That's never going to last, because you've built your house on sand. It's a trick, and again, no one makes you do it. They have to get you to do it to yourself. So how did they sell this to people? Freedom. You're free to do whatever you're free to put chains around your ankles. That's what it is. It's not freedom. It's slavery. It's Satan's the great deceiver. It's a complete inversion. It's a spell. So and as well as that, if you're a guy and you're not, there's people are like, how are you so fearless in this situation? I'm like, where do you think the term "he has balls" comes from?
Yeah.
As I'm being pinned into a corner, I'm like Mufasa from Lion King, just barking at all these hypocrites, calling out Tate in the war room, and they're gaslighting me. All these hypocrite Dawa guys gaslighting. Where do you think the term "he has balls" comes from? It's because I don't castrate myself with Zeno. So if people are like, you made Dawa in 6 months, now you're doing this, now you're doing that. It's like, because what else am I meant to do? Just do, why do you think they would possibly promote men weakening their biggest driving force, which is their sexuality? And again, if you strip back all of the propaganda and the word salad, what is sex? It's to create life. If you're not expelling that, it stays within you, and your whole character becomes creative, and you have this drive and this passion, this fearlessness. Why do you think they want to push that on you? So again, they can't make you do it to yourself, so they give you Drake, and they give you rap, and they give you 50 Cent, and they go on with all the hoes. Now you're a slave, because they have to get you to do it to yourself. Satan rebelled because he's below you, so they have to get you to do it to yourself, and that's exactly what people are doing. They're hurting themselves, and the jinn are giggling, and Satan's sitting there going, look, I told you, I said I was made of fire, they're made of clay, look at what they do to themselves. And you can't say you have the Quran, you have the Sunnah of the Prophet, and you still choose to go do the sin. You go into a courtroom in the Western world, why is there a Bible there? Because they're ensuring that you're aware. Here's at least a form of, the Bible is just not anywhere near as good as the Quran, but it's still better than everything else, like every other alternative out there. Why do they throw it in there? Because you know the truth. They have to. You're aware of the truth, and you still decide to follow what Shaitan is offering you. So it's a fair world. It's all even.
100%. Okay, I want to talk about, still on the topic of marriage, right? I think we spoke about this before. I just want to see if your opinions change at all. Multiple wives, and we have spoken about this quite in depth. What's your opinion?
Yeah, it's going to happen. No, I probably wouldn't. It's hard to tell. I don't think I'd want to, because I just like my wife, and I'm being honest. I'm not a dayut. I'm just being honest with you. It's going to return because, and there's a hadith that in the end of times there'll be one good man for every 50 good women. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but if you can't see with this situation, the cowardice of these Dawa influencers who go on camera and they're like, this is haram, everyone's hurting me, and then I get prosecuted for spreading Dawa, and they shit their pants to a degree you cannot comprehend, and then these guys wonder why their wives divorce them and become a third wife of some stud. What do you think's going to happen? So if you have a world where every single guy is like this pasty, degraded, castrated slave to zina, you're going to have, what's the alternative? So a woman now, or two alternatives, are work in a cubicle for money which isn't real, to pay off debt which isn't real, to then sit alone with a cat and other stuff. Or she finds a man who can provide for her and give her a family and take care of her. Well, I'm not being funny, we're in a riba economy, which is funny because if you take the Christian population and the Muslim population, it's half of the world's population, the two of them combined. Usury is the death penalty in Christianity, and riba is waging war with God in the Quran. Yet the whole world's financial system is based on riba and usury. Again, it's your own fault. They think that by getting up and saying Inshallah, Bismillah, it's just virtue signaling. They say, oh, Inshallah, Alhamdulillah, and then they don't follow anything in the Quran or anything in the Sunnah of the Prophet, and then they go, oh, but you're judging my heart. No, you're a hypocrite. And I don't know if you've read this. Do you know what the Quran says about el-kafirun, the kafir, the people who say that they're the kafir, and from what I read in the hadith and the Quran, it's actually a bit different. I think in the Quran it was talking about people who are hypocritical. They say one thing and do the other. So you're going to see there's only going to be a select few men who can afford land, housing, who aren't encompassed by infinite demons. So you're going to see it return. It just is what it is. It's fair. I think polygyny is actually a strength, because if you look at the West now, where every single male there, besides with the exception of like 2%, are all Dayuth losers. And again, guess who's going to get triggered at me saying that? Dayuth losers, right? So your birth rate plummets, whereas in Islam you have the ability where a woman can be taken care of by a man, and if he's in a position to take care of 1, 2, 3 or 4, that keeps your birth rate up. And the idea that that's slavery is just dumb, because so in the West it's promoted that women sleep, like the alpha males just pass around women like they're nothing. Why can't they have the legal protection of a wife and not be just treated like body bags for men's lust? So again, it's an inversion, and the people who get annoyed at me saying that are men who can't do it. I'm not in a financial position to do it now. No. Obviously, it's not easy. Like, it's a competitive world, but it's going to return. I don't see any way how it's not going to, because the whole feminism thing's dried up completely. Women are very well aware now that they don't want to be addicted to fentanyl, getting passed around by strangers alone, working for money which isn't real. So they're going to want to go back to being a housewife. There's only going to be a select few men who can do it, is what it is. And you want my honest opinion, they're clearly trying to drum up a war, like a world one. This world's fair. If you decide to go die on behalf of central banks, go do it. I'll take your wife and make her one man. It is what it is. It's a fair war. If you want to go slaughter people overseas because you think that God loves you and hates everybody else, well, guess what? I'll take your wife and you're away. Fine. It's going to happen. You can say it's not. It's going to happen. So
I think it's interesting because marriage shouldn't even be that hard to do. Like, it's
not difficult at all. I was saying that to my wife. I'm like I don't understand the difficulty where guys are like, how do I find a woman? I'm like, do stuff. Don't care. Just go do something. I don't actually understand. Like, I do kind of get it, but it's like, just go do stuff. And they're like, oh, he could be my hero, and then get married. I don't get it. Like, you have testosterone and they have estrogen. It's like a positive charge with a negative charge. They just come together. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. It's the worship of women is what it is.
So yeah, exactly. It's
pedestalize women and make them deities.
Yeah, because something I've noticed about women, especially the modern day woman, even if they're Muslim, they would much rather be single, working a career, than married to a pathetic, like, feminine
100%. Like, imagine. I said this. Like, imagine, especially for these guys that have like spiraled out in this feminine way with me, going, "You're disgusting." It's like, just shut up. Imagine you're a prig, because I as a man get pissed off with it when these guys are like, "Oh my God, you're just so offensive." Imagine being a pregnant woman and your hormones are all over the place and you're married to one of these guys who's like, "Oh, I'm so stressed." Of course you would want to get an abortion and go work in a job. You'd hate your life. Why wouldn't you? So it is what it is. But what's happened now, and again, it's from the corn industry, which is one of the reasons they're trying to mess with me so much, because from 0 to 7 years old, a kid's brainwave state is in 7. That's why I think it was Aristotle had the quote, "If you give me the boy till 7, I'll give you the man for the rest of his life," because your brain's in that sort of like dream state where you just accept things and that becomes your personality. So these guys have this like God complex of women, and you can't lead a woman if you worship them.
Yeah.
And I think it's zina. I think it's zina that does that, because it's like a cat with a laser. If you want the laser, if you're a cat and someone has a laser, they can ping it anywhere and you'll scurry around trying to get it. The analogy I'd make is, imagine if so say like, say you were my boss, right? Strange world, that would be it. No, I'm joking. But like, say you were my boss, right? And I'm your employee, and I'm meant to follow your lead. But then one day I'm sitting typing away, and you come crawling in on your all fours, going, "Please just give work this weekend, please," begging me. How am I meant to follow your lead? It's like guys do that. They're like, "Please, can I see your pictures, please? Oh, you're so beautiful." How's she meant to follow your lead? You're a slave.
Yeah.
And it's all free will decisions. You've decided to be a slave to lust. The Quran says they won't test you more than you can manage. You've decided to be a slave to zina, and you've not lowered your gaze. And I'm sorry, but you just have to pay the consequences of that until you repent and you change the way you operate. And that extrapolates from as small as something like what we were saying, where guys go, "Oh, can I drink your bath water?" all the way out to what's going on in the Middle East now. This whole boycott Pepsi nonsense. If you want to buy every single thing you've decided to buy is by people who worship Satan, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to just pay the consequence of it. If your Quran says waging war with God through riba, and you decide to do riba over and over and over and over and over, you're just going to have to pay the consequences of it. The idea of like boycotting Pepsi, you're boycotting Pepsi while using central banking currency which they own. It's virtue signaling nonsense. So people now, they just do sin after sin after sin after sin after sin, and then when you look into the abyss looks back. When it comes time to pay the piper, they go, "Oh, I'm a victim." No, you did it to yourself. So it extrapolates all the way from global geopolitics right down to how you get up in the morning. It's that victim mindset where you just indulge in sin, and then you say jargon. Christians do it. They go, I'm letting Jesus into my heart. Or really, it sounds like jinn possession to me. They go, "I believe in Jesus." I'm like, "So does Satan." And Muslims do the same. They go, "I believe in God and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." So does Satan. Doesn't mean anything. Do you put action to your words? And the answer clearly for Christianity, Islam, Judaism for the past God knows how long has been, no, they don't. You cannot tell me that in the Bible usury is the death penalty, and riba is waging war with God, and that certain country in the Middle East, Israel, is dominating everything. Well, they shouldn't be, because there's no boycott pink zebras in helicopters, because it's not an industry that would sustain. So this boycott Pepsi, boycott corn, boycott all these Zion businesses implies that you have been buying from them, and the piper has to be paid. So it just is what it is. Like, could you imagine if someone came to us and went, let's boycott pharmaceutical drugs. Well, I don't take them, so how can I boycott it? Or boycott prostitution. Well, I don't buy them, so how can I boycott Pepsi? Oh, you all buy Pepsi. Boycott Israel. Well, you all use their money. It's your fault. And that you have your Quran that says don't do it, and you've all done it anyway. So sorry, there's consequences to your actions. You know.
Okay, this is a good one. Tips for a guy to attract women.
Don't care.
And we were talking about this yesterday. This is like the number one thing.
Yeah.
You shouldn't treat them like they're anything special.
Yeah, the reason that happens, and I understand why, because when you're in zina, it's an addiction. It's blinded by sin. You're not appeasing yourself. You're appeasing a jinn, and I can prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. You take a 10-year-old girl and you tell her, strip down to your underwear and dance in front of those men over there. Smoke a cigarette and take a shot of whiskey. She'd cry. She'd go, "Mom, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." And she would go, she'd throw it away. She'd take a shot of the whiskey and she'd spew it out and ball her eyes out. 10 years later, that same girl's like, WAP from Cardi B twerking, going, It's not you, it's a jinn you've allowed into your head, which is draining you of your energy. And that's what zina is for guys. It's like a guy who's addicted to heroin. If a guy is addicted to heroin, the dealer, the owner of the heroin can make him do anything. He'd be like, dude, roll around in cow shit, and he'd be like, sure, can I get it? And he'd do, like, that's what it is. So it's the pedestalization of women. And before you even think about getting married, obviously I know this isn't really an Islamic term because it's God who moves hearts, so I don't want to use the word karma. Go 30, 60 days without anything. Just be celibate for 30, 60 days and you'll see how much of a deception it is. Because I don't know how much detail I want to go into, right? But when we were like messing around with women, you were into... Well, in individual forms, right? But like when I was in the zina world, you're into stuff with women, like in a degrading sense to them, that now looking back, it wasn't you that wanted to do it, it's a demon sucking from you. But yeah, if you're a slave to that, you're always gonna, you just shouldn't care. The hierarchy goes God, man, woman, child. You should spend your time trying to appease God and being a messenger. You know, what was the Quran verse? It was like, Muhammad is a messenger to you and you are a messenger to the world or something. That's your role, to uphold the deen, spread dawah, be a strong man. And when you do that, the women, they're going to want to be with you. Like, I don't know what there really is to say about that. I mean, I understand it's difficult if you look like an apple that's been thrown in the back of a van and had hair slapped on his head. Like, I guess I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I get there's like certain things, like, if you're like 4'11" tall and you can't bicep curl 5 kg, like of course you're going to struggle. Yeah. But again, if you don't worship women, you'll just get all this energy and you'll go fix it.
Yeah, and also if you're in a position where you are 4'11" or more, you know, you look like an apple that's been thrown in the back of the van. You shouldn't focus so much on the things that you don't have or the things that you can't change. You should literally just focus on working on stuff that you do have, or, you know, confidence, and not treating a woman like she's on a pedestal.
Yeah, and I even think if that's the case for you, you're fine. We made you in pairs. We made you in pairs, right? And I actually, one of the things I find hilarious about the Dawa guys who I have a disdain for, is they talk about red pill and how women are this and women are that, and if hypergamy. Have you read the hadiths about Khadijah and the Prophet Muhammad? Was she with him when he was rich? No. Was he a high status man when they were together? No. Did she leave him? No. Because again, if you build your house on a rock, that hypergamy thing just goes away. It doesn't really exist that much. And I know this because when I made Dawagram, I got down to £1 in my bank account. And the woman that I married, they didn't see it as like a, oh, it's time to leave. They see it as this is my opportunity to prove to him that I'm the one he should be with. So even if you're not genetically blessed, or maybe you have health complications, or you have a traumatized past, we made you in pairs. And again, if you sacrifice haram for halal, God will reward you for it, and you'll find someone out there. But it's all based on your morality. Of course, if you're in a zina world and you're a 5 foot tall guy, you're not obviously got like 6 foot plus hench studs, or you're not going to compete with them. Yeah. But that's in that satanic world. If you're not in that satanic world, it can actually play in your favor, because women will be like, I can prove to him that he's the one I want to be with, even though he's struggling with stuff. So it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, and on the flip side, because I want to help out the sisters as well. What are the top qualities in a woman that you personally look for? And like, how can she prove that she's different?
I don't care. That's my point. I don't care. I just, if you're not a pig, you won't like attracts like. The reason I've never struggled with bimbo since reversion is because I would get messages from women who had like big followings and they're plastering themselves about. I don't bite. So how am I ever going to end? Like, I found my wife because she just messaged me. We're having a nice conversation. I didn't even know what she looked like. Alhamdulillah, I ain't complaining, but like, I didn't know what she looked like. And then how am I going to attract one of these women who's out for attention? You get what you deserve. Like, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you're going to act like a pig, you're going to attract the same in a woman.
Yeah. Surely there's certain things that attracted you to her, though.
I don't know. I just think.
Bro, she's gonna watch this.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's one of those things that you can't really put into words. You know what I mean? Because I'm a very pragmatic guy, but it's kind of like. You know the best way I can. It's like saying you get married and then you text your wife and you're like, okay, when you come here for the first time, I'll kiss you on the shoulder and then pat your hand.
That was literally you yesterday.
Yeah, true. But then it's like, and then we will maybe get a bit or just there's a flow to it. There's a natural flow, and it's just like if I have the analogy, and again, it's what I'm going back to. I said it earlier that if people need reason to understand things. If you look at it from a charge perspective, like like you have magnets and you have a positive and negative charge, and when they are polarizing, they come together. The masculine charge is the positive one, the female is the negative, and you can break it down to as simple as the act of sex itself, where the guy penetrates the woman, and that fractally applies to everything. This is why men shouldn't look at women and women shouldn't be seen by men, because when the masculine essence is the positive charge, so we project our masculinity out into the world. I know this sounds esoteric, but why is it called Mother Nature? Because the woman makes the home, the man goes out and hacks the tree down. Like the man projects his masculinity onto everything. The woman is the canvas, the man is the painter. We project out onto the feminine essence, and it's called Mother Nature for a reason. We go out and we make something of the world. It's beautiful, but houses need to be built, roads need to be made. So if you're looking at women, you're projecting and draining you'll know this, like bro, when you stop doing zina, you see guys are like pasty and they're just void of energy, and when you don't do that, you gain that essence back and you become like a strong man. When you're constantly looking at women, you're projecting your masculinity out onto them, and light is dark is the absence of light, so feminine is the absence of masculine. When you're projecting it out through not lowering your gaze, you become feminine, and when a woman absorbs lots of attention from men, she becomes masculine. That's why you see these girls with like really high body counts who plaster themselves everywhere. They're men. They're like, oh, I'm going to go out this weekend and get a guy to mash me up, and then I'm going to work hard during the week. Like, they become men because they've absorbed all this energy. So if your gaze is lowered, you're never going to be able to attract a bimbo because you're not looking at them and you don't value it. Yeah. And it's the same for a woman. If she came to me and was like, do you want to see pictures of me? Block, bye. I'm never gonna have to bother with it. So you just get what you put up with. I guess it's difficult for guys and girls because it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where the guys are zina riddled from corn at a young age, and that's why I hammer it so much. And then they get with the woman. The women are like expecting Edward from Twilight, and they get some loser who's like, "Can I see your feet?" Oh. And then they get heartbroken, and instead of dealing with that pain, they convince themselves they like it, and they're like, I love being a whore, I love just getting attention from men, and then it's just men hate women, women hate men, but you can get out of it, just don't entertain any of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and now more than ever, it's very, very easy to be attractive as a man, because most men are just so unattractive. All you need to do is just...
Bro, like 60% of males have erectile dysfunction. It's something nuts, like 60% of guys have ED.
Is that from a study?
Yeah, because it's yeah, it's someone like it's between 40 and 60% of men have erectile dysfunction, and then you wonder what it's like, because that's the whole point, because you're constantly projecting out your masculinity by gazing at things and abusing yourself, and then a woman's expecting that, like, she's a woman, you're a man, she has femininity, she wants the like, it's like the yin and yang, she needs the opposite charge, but you don't have it, you're in here, you're just a nothingness puddle of smut.
A cure for ED is literally just be celibate for a couple of weeks,
a
few weeks.
Yeah, 100%. You know, back in the day, this is a fact, back in like the what's it called? They call it the Dark Ages, which is a complete lie. But back in like the medieval times, they had to. So you know, you can't see this, but like that brown table, they had to put tablecloths over table legs because guys would find it arousing because it's brown and long, as it resembled a woman's leg. You really don't need that much stimulation. Like if you weren't born this way. like they say women are now promiscuous and they're just there to use you and they all have an ulterior motive and they're cold, and men are degenerate, lustful pigs. If you were born that way, they wouldn't require trillions of dollars of mind control and propaganda to make you that way. It's not true. So yeah, just if the man's constantly looking at women and the woman's constantly getting looked at by man, you don't have that polarity anymore. It's just like a nothingness of degeneracy. Whereas if you're a man who's celibate and strong, and the woman's containing her beauty for you, you get that in the middle, and that's just how it works. So it's a fair world if you decide you want to. Again, there's consequences to your actions. Marriage will not exist if zina persists. It just is what it is. And if you want to persist with zina, you don't get married. It is what it is. And I don't care. Go do it. I'll just take your wife. I'll just say it just is what it is. So
yeah, you're only allowed 4 though. So
it's just it is what it is. But
so I think an attribute that every Muslim guy looks for in a woman is hayat, so shyness and modesty.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on even hijabis, but like Muslim women in general, posting photos and videos of themselves on social media?
Yeah, you're a dude. You're just a dude. I'm not sitting here like jail, launch diagram, blast this out, blast family don't like me, go just getting stuff done, and then having a woman who's like, oh my god, you're just dead. Like, I'm not doing it. Why would I do that? So it just you get what you put up with. It's the global homogenization, because these girls, I understand why it happens, because Ali Dawah actually made a really good, and I keep bringing this up and giving him credit for it. He brought to light that book Beauty Sick, where women have been convinced that their entire value is just in how sexually provocative they can look, and these young girls, they go on TikTok. Why are you giving your kids phones? Do not understand it. They're giving their kids, these young girls, TikTok, and they're seeing these Western girls who are in lingerie at like 13, 14, and they go, if I don't do that, I will get a husband. But you're not attracting the guy you want. Like, you're not attracting the guy here who's like charged up. You're just attracting a loser in here. So it is what it is. Again, they have to make you do it to yourself, so they sell it to you under the guise of freedom, but it's not. It's slavery. Yeah.
One of the main messages I get from sisters, obviously message requests, say that all of the guys that I attract are just not the types of guys who I like. And I can't remember that quote, was it Einstein? It was someone who said that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is basically insanity. And it's that same thing, like a sister who's not wearing hijab, cakes her face in makeup, maybe reveals her body and posts like stories and this and that. You're going to attract a certain type of guy.
Yeah, of course. It's like, I'll give you my anecdotal experience, because I know you'll have had this, and I've had it, where you get these Muslim girls who have like short shorts on, and they message you, I don't like that, so I'm not going to talk to you. So all you're going to get is guys who worship zina, like guys who I was using that analogy earlier of like, imagine your boss crawling along the floor, being like, please, like, you're just going to get that. You're going to get guys who are addicted to zina, who are not masculine. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm Hulk Hogan or anything, right? But in terms of internally, they're not masculine at all. You're going to attract what you get. So this is what it is. It doesn't bother me because I don't entertain it. My gaze is very lowered, so it's fine. But if people want to do that, to do what you want. But it's obviously a deception. It's obviously a spell. It's a rebound on your soul. I said before, because I had a girl message me ages ago, and she was saying, I really want to get married, but I can't find a husband, and then I would marry you, but you're just too good for me. Maybe didn't say that. No, but she was like, I want to get married, but I can't find a husband. And she's like, it's tempting just to meet a guy I like and do whatever. And I'm like, that's riba on your soul, because marriage takes sacrifice, it takes discipline, and it's way more rewarding. Like I said earlier, like that sort of stuff is just scratching an itch. It never goes away. It's a trick. Whereas marriage is the complete opposite. But it's really on your soul because what happens is there's something halal, but it takes you becoming internally a better person, and Satan comes along and goes, we'll give you it now, we'll give you zina right now, and you can give yourself a temporary spike in dopamine, but after it you crash below, and there's interest you have to pay, because if you're that woman and then a good guy comes along, he now doesn't want you. So you've got to pay the piper even more. So it's hard, but hard times create strong people. So that's what it is.
Is there any kind of message? Well, actually no, because you met your wife through Instagram. How did she message you initially? Because the reason I ask this is because you obviously get more messages than I do. You have a much bigger following, and you're obviously way better looking. So, but like I get messages from girls, and it's interesting. The approach is either completely, I want to marry you, or it's, oh hey, I love your opinion on this.
Oh yeah.
Just like.
Well, you know what? It's better. Like it's better. Like it's more innocent, and I think that's actually. Look, I know I sound cringe here, but like I actually kind of enjoy that a lot more. Where it's like that, the innocence about it. You know what I mean?
So the better approach is just to strike up a conversation rather than.
Yeah, because of course, I don't mind the I want to marry you thing, but it's very. It's masculine, you know, and that's when guys will sit there and go, do you want to marry me, or is your biological clock ticking and you're just looking to get knocked up? You know what I mean? It's like, so...
Or has she got a fetish for reverts, and is she doing this exact message?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, we know that, because we've both spoke about that. But yeah, I just think, again, it's just, there's a flow to it. It shouldn't be as private, because like, you get these fresh and fit guys, and I don't care, like, they're fine, I just think they're promoting hell. But they make everything so pragmatic, and it's like, the man should do the get the money and do this, and I'm like, or just be a man. Like, I wake up in the morning and I want to do stuff. You don't have to tell me to be the breadwinner. I want to get shit done.
Yeah.
And if you just have that flow where it's like, she's a woman, you're a man, you're not encompassed by demons and jinn. It just happens.
You just naturally fall.
Yeah, it just naturally happens. Yeah. So it's like. So yeah, so it's all good, and then that, because if you make it hyper pragmatic, it takes the romance out of it, and it just makes it like ordered and just dead. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Social media. How do you blow up on social media?
I don't need to.
Yeah, that's true.
What's funny is this is funny because my wife messaged me when I was at 200 followers. She made an Instagram to message me, and then I spoke to her on WhatsApp, all this great stuff. She took so when I think it was like 5,000 followers or something, and I wasn't posting, I literally don't care. Like people, when I say I literally don't care about clout, I've uploaded 8 videos in like 8 months on YouTube. I literally don't care. And I had no posts on Instagram. I had like 5k followers. And I was getting these messages from women. And I can't be bothered with it, so I was like, do you want to run my Instagram? Because I don't like it. So she ran it, she got on it, and she started posting clips of me, and then before I know it, was at like 100,000 or more followers. I literally don't care. But yeah, I just think, as cream rises, I think now a lot of young guys are pushed this idea that there's one special secret way of making money that no one's heard of. And that's just not true. It's trying to be the boss without paying the cost. So you expect to have this extravagant external reality when your internal one is shit. So people will come to you and be like, oh, if you're a trader, or this Forex, or cop, it's like, or you're just a competent guy who's smarter than everybody, can work harder than everybody, has a better belief structure than everybody, you just apply it to different realms. I never did coding. I didn't sit there and go, how to code and become a coding G. I just made Dowler because I'm competent. I just get stuff done. So people make up for their shitty videos pretty much with clickbaity thumbnails and clickbaity titles, because it's like we're saying with marriage. If a woman doesn't really want to be with you, she's going to want an extravagant wedding and a big mahar to like make up for it. All my thumbnails are just not clickbaity. All my titles are like memes. But it's the context, again, it's what I was talking about with jail. If your internal world is so good, you think smarter, your passions are more controlled. When people are taking in music, you're taking in information. you're not going to be able to outcompete that by joining Hustlers University and learning how to copyright. That's just a fraud. You're not going to be able to do it. So it's like, if your internal world, if you are the light, no matter how dark a room is, you'll always be able to see. So if you're just a competent guy and you sacrifice more than other people, your videos are going to be better than other people, you know what I mean? So, and you'll know this, like, people will make clickbait thumbnails, clickbait titles, and on the video it'll be like, hey everybody, welcome to blabbling on the same as everybody else. Please don't watch Ibrahim X because I want money. Astaghfirullah. No, yeah, exactly. So it's like, if you're a competent guy, you just apply it to different realms. And my biggest point, this is testimony, and wallahi, swear to God, this is how I think. Don't pedestalize the outcome. If you do it for views, or you do it for money, or you do it for clout, you'll get analysis paralysis. You'll never pull the trigger. Like, things can never be perfect. And again, you're trying to make up for a lack of sacrifice long term with short term tinkering and tediousness. I make videos because I have no one to talk to, and I just put them up on the internet. Don't laugh at me.
I didn't say anything.
See, you giggle.
He actually doesn't have anyone to talk to.
I literally don't. Who am I meant to talk? I don't talk to. Everyone thinks we're spinning on a ball in infinite blackness. What do I have in common with anyone alive? Anyway, but I posted these on Diagram. I used to make these little videos for myself because I'd have all this going on in my head and I want to speak it out so I could kind of structure what I was thinking, and then I decided to put them on the internet and everyone likes them. But yeah, of course I have no one to talk to because everyone worships women, thinks that God loves them and hates everybody else, and thinks we're spinning around in blackness on a ball. The Quran said rolled it like a carpet bird. Do you believe it or not? Anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I think something to add to that is, this is going to sound so cheesy, but you have to actually just enjoy the journey.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Because as soon as because I remember being fixated, as soon as I get 1,000 it'll be so much better, as soon as I get 5,000, but it's always the next one, the next one.
Yeah, it's never ending. And you realise, like, 1% of the time is achieving the goal, 99% is enjoying it, and you'll look back and you'll be like, I never enjoyed any of it, and what was the point? Because as soon as wallahi, I swear to God, when I hit 100k, God can hold me up to this on the Day of Judgment. I literally didn't give a shit. I didn't even talk about it, didn't care. My wife was like, oh, that's so cool, but I literally did not care one bit. And it's because I just enjoy making. If you can't tell, I don't shut up. Like, I enjoy doing these. I have a lot to say. I don't care. And because you enjoy it, the man who enjoys walking will walk further than the man who wants to reach the destination because he just enjoys it. And again, that's what I was talking about. You can't enjoy doing this if you're indulging in sin. They did a study with rats on dopamine where they took rats and they gave them, there was food and rats here, and the rats would go and eat the food constantly. It was food, so they'd eat the food, and then they took a group of rats and they injected them with something which removed the dopamine from their brain and stopped them producing it. And the rats, with this injection, they would continue eating the food, but if they were moved back even 5 centimeters away from the food, they would just starve to death because they had no mean or drive to even move a rat's length to get the food. So if you're draining yourself and sacrificing all your energy to these jinns that are parasitically sucking off you, don't expect to enjoy. Like, there's a reason I enjoy doing this because my brain's not hyperstimulated.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like, it's small margins. Like, if another man listens to music, say me and a guy are trying to learn a skill and he listens to music for half an hour a day and I don't, I'm going to remember way more than he does, and I'm going to have an extra half an hour a day where I'm learning stuff. You extrapolate that over 5 years, the gap's so big you never make it back up. So again, just enjoy it. They're fruits of your labour, but you have to focus on the labour, not the fruits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's not really a secret for success on social media.
No, people will tell you there's a secret to sell you a course.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more about, just talk about stuff you're actually interested in, you enjoy talking about, and do it consistently.
Well, it's the idea that, say me and another guy at 18, he goes in clubs and listens to music and is a complete knobhead and watches the news, and I go read a book a day and learn about super interesting stuff, and I constantly think about stuff and I use my imagination. 5 years later, the gap, it's like a plane, it's like two planes setting off and one's tilted 5 degrees that way. It doesn't seem big until 5 years later they're on different sides of the firmament. That's like that, and then the other guy being like, one special trick to beat him. You're not gonna do it. It's a scam. It's trying to be the boss without paying the cost. You're not gonna do it. Yeah, but that is like, it's a practice thing that you have to do.
It's a gradual thing. It's not like
it's not like you can't just instantly batter things. It takes work. Rome wasn't built in a day, and biceps weren't built in a week. You know what I mean? So not that I have any, but so yeah. But just on a quick side note, right? Edit this out.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I'm not gonna leave this out.
We'll edit this out.
I'm keeping that in. Oh wait, one sec. I think the battery's about to run out. Should we just wrap it up quickly?
Yeah, you can do that. What's ours on?
Probably says 0, but let's just quickly wrap it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you actually want to talk about?
You know what? We could fucking.
I'll charge the battery up. I actually know I have a spare.
Well, I was saying we could just like charge it up for a bit.
Bro, I have a spare one.
Is it recording?
Yeah, it's been recording this whole time. Actually, look how rude this guy is. Simply making it.
I'll be fucking edit this right.
I'm crazy with this thing, I might just forget it. No, I'm just
think that like a telegram introducing.
Perfect advertisement.
Is that?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it streaming?
Imagine. It's cool, man. I get like 20 people watching my live stream. Alright, anyway, we took like a 2-hour break or whatever. Just
got food and prayed.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate. I'm putting that in.
Yeah, putting that in. That's okay with the war.
Yeah.
So yeah, like in my view now, Freemason. So I think I've probably been kicked out of the war room. If not, I'm bleeding anyway. Not because like a lot of the guys in there are great. I like them a lot. But we tried to get the war room on board with the case that's going on. And they've all been spiraling at me for saying this, and I'm like, I'm not personally attacking anybody, I'm just saying what happened. It's like I called water, like if I called water wet, does water then go, you sick evil? It's like, no, water's wet.
Yeah.
So 2 of the war room guys who are great Muslim brothers, right? Great guys, they helped me out and they put a message in the war room because I can't get in it because they took my stuff. Breaking down what happened, explaining that, well, trial's coming up, I can't access my stuff, business is being messed with and all that. And it blew up, and then the admin just deleted the post, which I was like, I thought the whole auspices of this was like the global elite network fighting the Matrix. Well, now I'm actually one of the guys doing it. And they deleted the message. Tate was aware, and nothing happened. We had a donate link for them, we had never out with a lawyer, or when I got kicked out. Well, actually, 2 guys did, but it wasn't because the war amassed them, they were just like friends, like, you know what I mean, like, I don't know if you know what a friend is, but I'm joking.
No.
But I'm the guy who doesn't know. Anyway, so besides that, like, I didn't do it, and I made a video being like, yeah, trials tomorrow, they've done nothing, and then they all messaged me being like, you're sad. I'm like, no, I'm just saying, I didn't call you a dickhead, I just said it is what it is.
Is there anyone in particular who said that?
Yeah, but I'm not going to name it. I don't even dislike them. It's just, because I don't even think it's like people, it's like demons in folks' head, bro. That's what it is. It's like when I say I don't think we're standing on a spinning. So like, right now there's children in the Middle East being like genocided, and like we were saying earlier, that like every young child on the planet is pretty much molested prior to puberty. No one cares. But as soon as I say, don't think we're spinning around in infinite blackness, they go, yeah, it's not them, it's a demon in their head going, just fucking, no, just tell him it's wrong, tell him, you're better than him, and then they believe the voice and they start spiraling. I'm like, I didn't say anything bad about them, and they just all start spiraling at me, and that's fine. I'm like, it's just pure projection. It's like, it's like they'll come to you and they'll be like, you hate your name, Paul, and you hate the fact that you're bald, and you hate the fact that your car broke down this morning. And I'm like, oh really, Paul? Did you go in to get your car fixed today and your wife's not coming? Yes. That's what it is. So like, they spiral, but I don't even think it's anything. I think it's demons in their head, because it doesn't warrant that reaction. And then I found out Rumble is owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. You can't trick me, bro. So Rumble is meant to be, Albert Pike, I think he was the founder of Freemasonry, had a quote which was, whenever they need a hero, we will supply them with a hero. 33 cars, 18-year-old girl, come on, work it out. Top G, come on. And Rumble's meant to be this new platform of free speech, and then you look at who owns it, it's BlackRock and Vanguard, which are the same two companies that own everything haram in the world that's controlled opposition. So, and that's kind of fine. Like, that's, again, apocalypse just translates to revealing. When stuff hits the fan, you see what people are about. Like, true colours reveal. So you can join the war and it's like, oh yeah, we're the global elite now, we're fighting the Matrix. And because no one reaches that sort of, I don't say level of influence, but like gets in this situation I'm in, it kind of, no one ever knows, but then it's brought to light and you realise people are just talking about their ass. Which is fine, but like the vitriolic response I had to just saying they didn't help, and I find it suspicious that Rumble's owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and 33 cars with an 18-year-old girl. That's a fact. And they go, you, and it's like, are those voices in your head also telling you to like do sins all the time? Yes, well don't listen to them, you know what I mean? So I don't have an opinion. I think it is controlled opposition, like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is trying to send rockets to space, which doesn't exist. Find me in the Quran where it says ice cold vacuum forever that never ends. You can't. Just clutching at straws. He's trying to put rockets in space, which you can't do. He owns Twitter, which has hardcore corn on it. He's trying to put a chip in your brain and runs an electric car data company, which tries to monitor where you can and can't go. So they give you these heroes, so you don't become the hero yourself. You know what I mean? So just is what it is. Yeah. Just don't worship. They're just men. They just take it. Like, one thing I'll give Tate credit is he's a ridiculously hard-working guy. And he's super competent. But that doesn't mean you can't be either. Don't make them heroes. They're just men. You know what I mean? And you see that with these. There's one thing with these influencer guys, bro. Like, they worship Tate like the prophet. They do. You can't say they don't. They 100% do. They worship Tate more than the Prophet Muhammad. They do, 100%. It's not even close. They'll sit and they'll retweet Tate's stuff. And I don't dislike the guy. I don't have an opinion on him. But I'm saying he's not the public promotion of sin. Look, I can do it sometimes. But like, if you're just going to publicly promote sin, and then Muslim Dawah guys are going to retweet his stuff, or like retweet his like in their post, it's even when he has like haram stuff on there. Most young Muslim males worship Tate more than Prophet Muhammad. It's fact. You can say it's not. It's objective. Not even close. So just as what, again, it's all fair. People want to do that, go for it. I'm not doing it, and you'll know them by their fruits. Sick, man.
The war room, is it worth it?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say no, because it's like maybe round pegs just don't fit in square holes. Like, it could be. Like, a lot of the guys in there are great, and I will say, when you go to war room meetups, you learn a lot of really cool stuff. The difficulty is now, and I'm actually part of this group, so don't think I'm not involved in myself, but I think it used to be like really hyper high net worth individuals, and then it became that a marketing ploy kind of came out to get more users, and then because you get more, like, objective, like, I'm not anywhere near as successful as Tate and these. Nowhere near, I have no chance, mate. Guys worth like $1 billion.
In terms of looks and everything else as well, it's nothing. Anyway, carry on.
But so I think what happened is a lot of these guys joined in that watered down the quality of member in there, and it kind of, from my view, and I could be wrong because there's different levels, like you can go up into different chats and that, but kind of became like a gamma fest where everyone wants to be like this John Wick James. Like you try to ask a question. I went once. I get so attacked for this, but I was like, I need a camera. Can someone recommend a camera at this price bracket? Because the whole thing's speed. And some guy was like, they talk like Jedi masters and half of them were just dorks. And he was like, what, have you consulted the internet? I'm like, just fucking tell me a camera name. Yeah, but these guys, it's like people trying to be this like wise James Bond character where they're like, get all the girls and red pill. And business-wise it's great, but I'm just not. The response I've had is just pointing out that they'd done nothing, and then they started lying and saying they were doing stuff they weren't, like, just... Oh, you swore? Yes. So it is what it is.
I'm beeping it out.
So yeah, it is what it is. I probably kicked out, I can't tell, but it's not...
So you're not officially kicked out, you're just...
I don't care, lad, it's just like, because...
Yeah, but you pay to be in there.
But you pay to join and then
how much is it?
I think now it's like $8,000, but you pay to join and then they don't disclose to you that you have to pay an annual fee every year, and I'm just like, mine's just coming up in 2 weeks, and after this I'm not doing it. What's the point? You know what I mean? So, and it makes me dubious as well, because like, Tate's fighting the Matrix and then the same thing that happened to him happens to me. Deletes messages and nothing happens. I'm like, oh right, that doesn't sound very legit, does it? And I already had suspicions about the whole jail. I'm not going to say it did or didn't happen because I don't know and I'd feel bad if it did. You go into jail during Ramadan and you put on fat and muscle. Just
on prison food.
Bro, I ain't having it. It's not bad. But I don't want to say he didn't because I feel bad if he did, but it doesn't ring very well with me. You know what I mean? So it's just a world of tangled webs. And this is one thing I realised, like 2 years ago when I was like, I'm still broke, but like 2 years ago when I was like a slave, driving to jobs and that, you'd listen to these types of characters, like, and you'd be like, you made them like a deity, and you're like, wow, they're so smart, and then you speak to them and they're just like, some of the guys I was watching a couple of years ago, I'm like, wow, they're a million miles away, and now they're spiralling at me in DMs like, yeah, you're evil! Bro, you're losing your mind, mate. So they're just guys, and I don't actually think it's because many of them are objectively exceptional. I just think the quality of male today is so low and degraded. Like 100 years ago, the average man spoke like 4 languages. Now, again, they still spend like 3 hours a day on their phone. You know what I mean? So, just is what it is. I have 3 rules now when it comes to interacting with men. This is one thing I'll say: is the worship of women in any of these high value networks. The worm's the same, and it's not. Again, this is me talking bad. It's just a fact. And if you don't like the fact, don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like if you don't want to be known as a thief, don't steal. So I'm gonna call out. I'm just gonna say it how it is. If you come to the king, you best not miss, right? But some of the chats, like money and all that, they'd be quiet, and the one that went off like all the time, like you'd go off your phone for like a day, and all the other ones would have like 30 missed messages, and the girls one would have 1,000. And I have 3 rules now when it comes to interacting with people, because I think, I know this isn't an Islamic thing, but like the Kali Yuga, where it's like cycles of time, I actually think there's a degree of validity to that, where I think like now we're in this state where like 80% of people are just degraded and completely possessed by demons. I'd say it's more like 95. But I have 3 rules when it comes to interacting with people. 1, if you and I used to think this was just your own individual opinion. Now I have no tolerance for it because it's the dumbest slave NPC demonic stuff ever, and I'm not having it near me. 1, if you think we're flying around on a spinning rock at 1,000 miles an hour through an infinite vacuum, not speaking to you because I don't trust you to turn a car wheel. 2, if you think God loves you and hates everybody else because you say a certain word, or you just have this delusion in your head that however you feel, God also agrees. So you know, like so there's certain guys in the Dawa scene who I caught stealing money. I'm not going to name names, they've all blocked me. Stealing money, DMing people behind closed doors, trying to mess with me in Dawagram, and they all talk about social media is haram. publicly doing stuff and grifting and all this great stuff. But it's like when one of them I caught stealing money, and I was like, "You're stealing, bro. You're just grifting." And then in their head, it's like, God loves stealing and he hates you. And I'm like, no, goodbye. And the third one is if you worship women, because I just find it cringe. Like, even these warring meetups, a girl will walk past and they'll be like, oh, and I'm like, nah, fuck that, no, I can't do it. It's just weakness, it's cringe, I don't like it near me. Like, I don't think people realise how nuts this is. It's like a tolerance thing, right? If you drink sugar, if you drink Coca-Cola all day and you go a month without drinking Coca-Cola and you have like a sip of orange juice, you're like, because the sugar, your tolerances went down, right? I don't think people understand how jarring it is to see how guys like look at women now. And I'm not saying this in a white knight way, like, don't look at her, you're disgusting. I mean, like, she's just a woman. She goes to the toilet and takes a poop like everyone else. But they're like, oh, I'm not hanging around with them. And if they think we're standing on a spinning ball as well, I'm like, just not doing it, innit? Just dead, bro. I don't care if you're the war room, because you see it, this cognitive dissonance, doublethink stuff. Like, the reaction I've had from them, just saying you've done nothing, it's been the same as a teenage girl. It's literally been the same. It's like when we were talking when the cameras are off about how like about how like when we used to do before we reverted and we'd have girlfriends and that. And you catch them doing something that's not good, they have to become the victim, and they just spiral because if they're the victim, they can do no wrong. And the reaction I've had from war room guys, it's just been the same as a teenage girl that I was sleeping with 5 years ago, and I'm just not, what, you know what I mean? I don't care. It's just dead, bro. Like, I'm not sitting there and just saying a fact, and then people go, you're evil. Oh, really? So God agrees with you because you're emotionally having a tantrum? Nah, just see you on the day of judgment, brother. That's why I think these guys are so afraid of the day of judgment, and I'm really not. And I don't know if you can tell by how I talk, the jail thing. You know, you've been speaking to me. There's never been an ounce of fear in me at all. And it's because I have no skeletons in my closet. And these guys are just, I don't know. Like, you have to pay the piper, and I just think these guys' lies catch up with them because like the vitriol in their reaction is not warranted one bit. You know, it's a biblical term, but it's like the wicked flee when no one pursueth. So if we were in this room and there's 10 other guys, say like 9 of them are me because I'm a unit, so say there's 100 guys and then 91 and then me, and a guy walks in and he goes, a police officer comes in and goes, we're looking, a guy around here's been stealing, and some guy just goes, oh, and runs out the door. You know it's him, because he's fleeing when no one's pursuing him. And these guys are just spiraling, and I've said nothing, and they're like, you hate your name, Bill, and you hate your bald, and you hate the fact that you're lying, and it's just projection. And I don't care if you call yourself a G, you're just not doing it. You know what I mean? It's dead, bruv. And it's the same, they're the most powerful network on the planet, and they're all more scared than I am. What are you talking? Why is everyone such a pussy? Like, I'm literally every big influencer we know hates me because like I won't take shit, and I'm not gonna join your cool kids club with K's for clout and views. And if you think you're gonna add me into this group where you just snake and grift all day and then say alhamdulillah in front of a camera, I ain't doing it. Like, I'm not doing it. So just is what it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mad how those group chats actually exist, which the viewers wouldn't actually know that not all, but some of the big influencers who they watch all talk behind the scenes and all plot all behind the scenes.
It's dead, bro. And I think I'm not into that, mate. And then of course, like when you're the perpetrator, you have to become the victim. So what they do is they get caught grifting, and then they're like, oh no, but you're the bad. I'm like, no, I just caught you stealing, lad. That's it. Like, one of them spiraled out and spurred at me because I caught him taking money, and he was like, you're evil. And I'm like, oh, that's convenient. Like, find me in the Quran where it says do false sadaqah. You know what I mean? Come on, man. So I'm used to it. It just is what it is. So, yeah. But I don't know about you, but I don't want to be part of like big influencers and that. I'm not about it.
No, something that happens to basically every single person who's, I don't want to call us like, well, you're definitely an influencer, but even just a micro influencer, you start getting messages from these big influencers and they're almost checking in, like almost like,
yeah, monitoring their competition.
It's weird. It's a weird, like the big influencers are gatekeepers, and they need to keep tabs on everybody who's going to be joining that sort of.
That's 100% what it is. It's absolute gatekeeping, and they like, you know, the amount of those guys that have spouted on about Aki, Uma, and how social media is hurting people, and then behind closed doors they try and like DM folk to not go on Dialgram and get me on calls so they can copy because they're making an app. Fact. Again, they don't know I know this, but I'm not omnipotent, but I'm everywhere. You know what I mean? Because they see it as competition, and they just virtue signal so they can't be criticised. Now, I know this is a sad analogy I'm going to have to make, but it's like the Catholic priests, because they can do all this degenerate stuff to minors, but you can't criticise them because they have virtue, because they're of God. And it's like, nah, bro, your actions are your actions. Like, and people can't distinguish the difference. And this is this feminine. You know, I was talking earlier about that charge thing. All these guys who are so weak and soy, and I'm not like Hulk Hogan. It's a mentality thing, right? And the women then become masculine, and that's why they like shit tests and stuff. And this whole you're judging hearts, I'm like, no, I'm judging his actions, bro. Now you see, I'll name this guy, Sneeko, has porn stars on his Rumble and people use him for views and that. Like, you have a Muslim audience, you've proclaimed to take the Shahada, and you're using Sneeko, who has porn stars on his stream, the same week that you promote him. You're now just exposing hundreds of thousands of young Muslim guys to porn for what? Money and views? No, you think I'm gonna sit and go through all I'm going through to then sign off on that, and then you call them out for it, and they're like, "Oh, astaghfirullah."
Like, it's not real games.
Yeah, it's like, come on now. It's like dead, isn't it? So it's the public promotion of sin. Like a guy in Islamic law, someone can have a pure heart, but if you steal, the blicky gets flicky. It just is what it is, and that's how you uphold a standard. Because if you can't uphold a public standard, what is Islam anymore? It's like if you let anybody into the Marines. What are the Marines anymore if you can have a dog in it? So yeah, like, that's one thing. Like of all, I think there was a quote by someone. It was like, of all evil people, of all bad people, religious bad people are the worst. Because I can tell my son or my daughter, I know my daughter shouldn't be watching Cardi B. Right? Fact. But when it's someone that's taken the Shahada and you trust them, and then they use God's name and virtue signal and then still lead people astray, that's way worse, bro. And the Bible says that, the Quran says that about the hypocrites. They're the worst, they're the lowest rank of like Jahannam is the hypocrites, because who do you trust then? You know what I mean? And I'm averse to gaslighting, because you get loads of that. They're like, what's wrong with this guy? I'm like, oh, well, what's wrong? You mean I call people being liars? You know what I mean? They just gas. It's females, man. It's just women stuff. It's like you catch a woman being promiscuous in a relationship and you go, but you! I'm like, no, I just caught you doing this, and now you have to make yourself the victim and get on your high horse. And these guys are the exact same. You know what I mean? That's what it is, bro. But the cream rises, you know what I mean?
I don't go anything else to add.
Yeah, it just is what it is. I don't know. It just is what it is. Just let them do their thing. No one can hurt you but yourself. It's all consent based. Just if they want to do it, they self-destruct. Because like now you're seeing like these like scams. You think you get away with them, but you don't, because you get. It's like when you. It's like if you lie. You think you get away with it, but every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It always comes back to get you in one form or another, which is actually, I think, proof of God in my opinion, because it's like, that's way more torturous than getting caught instantly, because you think you're getting away with it and then you don't. So you look now at the feminism thing's coming to an end. All these scams are coming to an end, and the same thing's going to happen for these guys. The apocalypse just means revealing, is what it is. And if not, do you believe in the Day of Judgment or not? I would ask that question to a lot of the people that people watch on the internet, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Is what it is. And then they do this one thing, which is like it's like a no true Scotsman fallacy, where they go, like one of the, he's gonna know I'm talking about him in a spiral, but again, I'm not spiraling. But they do this thing where they're like, no real Muslim, and I'm like, okay, well, no real Muslim would scam, steal. But they do this thing where it's like, you're not a real this, you're not a real that, and it's like, oh really, God? I get that hadith from the Prophet. I don't know, was it the battle? I don't know what battle it was, but it was talking about one of the Prophet's companions. After they were winning a battle, who was it? I can't. The hadiths are so extensive and hard to remember. It was talking about how the enemy, after the end of a battle, said he was going to take the shahada, and the Prophet's companion just killed him. He went, "Oh no, you're lying," and he killed him. And the Prophet said, "Did you cut his heart open and look inside it?" And it's true. Like, these guys really don't judge hearts, and as soon as you catch them publicly doing a sin, they judge your heart. You don't actually care. You're just using you're nitpicking the Quran and the Sunnah to try and find a way to get away with stuff and persecute people. You know what I mean? Because the Christians do that, where they go, "He with no sin cast the first stone," and they think they're saved, so they just cast stones all day. And it's like, what did Jesus say after that? He said, "Now rise and sin no more." They just leave it out. They just nitpick little bits to try and get away with crimes. No, thank you. You know what I mean? And that's what I don't care. Like, I could have. If I wanted clout, I wouldn't do any of this, and I would just go on their streams because they all wanted me on for views because big stud in it. I could just ride the clout wave and all that. I ain't doing it, bro, because I actually fear God and not man. I don't know if people can tell by my demeanour as to what's going on. I literally fear God and not man. I don't think man can do anything to you out with your own consent. So that's what it is.
Has anyone reached out to you since the whole you being arrested?
Yeah, none. Besides Bobby's perspective. And you, so no one else.
Out of all the people who have had you on the stream, or is that just everyone in general?
Yeah, everyone. That's it, literally it. Like, people have been on their streams, they go, "Akiyuma, this is haram, that's haram," and then someone gets persecuted and they don't even, not only do they not share what's going on, they're not even reached out and sent a message, so I'm like, alright, son. But again, it's just revealing. People, when things are brought to light, the shadows disappear. So it just is what it is. You know what I mean? There's not too much else. I mean, it's disappointing because, like, you would expect them to do that. But what's more annoying to me is that people are unaware of it. Do you know what I mean?
In what way?
Like these guys leading them astray.
Oh.
And I'm not saying this as if I'm a sinless guy, obviously I'm not, but some of it is so blatantly hypocritical and insane. Like, people will have Sneeko on for promotions the same week he's had 5 porn stars on the stream. So if you're doing that, and it's always either views or money, and you can say, "Oh, he's in his ear, Sheikh Uthman's in his ear, privately telling him not to do it." Well, he's still doing it, so then you go public. Like, what? Or you disassociate, or you condemn the action, so you're just hypocrites. It's just like lies. So what you're doing then is you're using him to get views or money. Well, now 100,000 young people who trust you, like, again, my son, or if you had a son, I had a son, they watch that, they go over to Sneeko, now at 7 years old, they're exposed to porn, they're addicted till 20. I ain't signing off on that because you'd have me on your stream for views. I ain't doing it. So, this is what it is, man.
Perfect. Is that it?
I think that'll do, man.
Alright, let me switch. The one truth. Shoot the line.
Thanks for watching. Join Diagram if you haven't already, or don't. Just have your kids on TikTok and let them be introduced to Satan at 7. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sick.
I'm doing well, man.
That was fucking